I do not like Harry Potter. And
Oh my god, I'm gonna die right now. Holy.
What? Okay, that's wild.
Hello and welcome to Tell Me Over Tea. My name is Sylvie.
I'm Lois.
And I'm Stephanie.
So what are we having to drink today, everyone?
So today I actually have a drip tea, which is a new concept for me. It's a osmanthus oolong drip tea, and I dripped it cold. And it's actually from a Hong Kong brand called Drip Tea. And it tastes pretty good, actually. It's on the milder side when you drip it with cold water, but I quite enjoy that.
Like a drip coffee, but
Yes.
it just drips tea.
And it's loose leaf, so not a cardinal sin. Sylvie.
I am having ginseng oolong tea, but it is not hot. I made a batch, I think it was like a couple days ago. Again, it is loose leaf tea. If everybody knows me, I like loose leaf tea. I don't like tea bags. And normally with the tea leaves, you can kind of re-brew, not just like you don't just throw the tea leaves away. You can like brew it a couple of times. So I brewed it and then let it cool down and then shoved it in the fridge. And now I have a nice iced ginseng oolong tea.
Ooh.
Nice. Ooh, okay. I am having hot water, not tea. Hot water is one of my favorite beverages. It is nice and simple, and sometimes your girl just wants something plain and simple. So that's what I'm drinking.
Steph, we've learned that Steph doesn't like cold drinks.
Nope, I am super, super Asian in that way.
Yeah,
I just
I'm
want hot
halfway
water.
there. I'm halfway there with you. Like, I usually don't love a cold drink, but it is like 27 degrees in Hong Kong today, so.
Ooh, yeah. So I'm in the States, and it is cold today. So
Oh, really?
it's sunny in the afternoons, and then the wind picks up once the sun goes down, and then you just want to be like bundled up. So
All right. So today we are going to be talking about period dramas, and I'd like us to ask Lois, because apparently she's not a massive fan of period dramas, and
Nope.
I think we should understand why.
I'm curious.
It's really hard to put my finger on it as to why I don't love a period drama, but it's just a genre that I've never enjoyed that much. I love TV. I love like film. I grew up enjoying like motion pictures so much, and it's still one of like my most favorite form of entertainment. But I think the difference with a period drama versus the other genres that I like to watch more, which is probably dramas that are within my time, is that I just like to watch things that I can relate to. And maybe in the sense of relating, I'm talking about cultural context. Maybe I enjoy watching things that informs me about the world I live in today to some degree. And for some reason, period dramas just don't tend to do that for me. Sometimes period dramas are historical, and I think those are the only instances when I do love a period drama, because they're historical and it lets me know how the world that I now live in was formed based off of historical events or things that happened in real life. So like autobiographical stuff, things about world history, like cultural events that have occurred that were really changing in the sense that it completely reshaped the world today, I love. But a period drama that is mainly fictional is something that just doesn't click for me. And I'm going to get so much hate for this. I have from my friendship groups, because, you know, there's things that I've just never enjoyed and people cannot understand.
But I feel like when you said you liked autobiographical, but oh my god, I can't speak. Like historical dramas, like real things that actually happened. I feel like that counts, surely, like as a period drama, does it not?
Yeah, I think it does. It's probably a section of period dramas, but that's like the only criteria in which I enjoy it, basically. So then I am not liking most of period drama, which it doesn't fall into that category of history.
So specifically, you don't like the fictional aspect of it,
and
because I
that's
feel
from
like
a different time. Yeah,
because I feel like not a lot of, but I feel like some certain fantasy dramas kind of dabble into that kind of medieval or like period where they have these sort of characters that come out. So you're not that interested in those senses. So you would like a World War II film.
Yes. So I love watching things about history. Yes. And like, okay, the most typical example of what isn't a period, I don't know, is Harry Potter a period drama?
No, I don't think so.
What?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, it's not a period drama. But disclosure, I do not like Harry Potter. And
oh my god, I'm gonna die right now.
So I will lose friends.
shit.
I have lost friends because
That's
of
wild.
this, but I do not like Harry Potter.
I'm dying.
Yes.
I'm dying. So you don't like fantasy. You don't like that sort of
fantasy
magical,
is not a genre. No.
make believe, like where you can kind of just imagine yourself being, I don't know, riding a broomstick, playing Quidditch.
So like Sylvie, you mentioned that when you watch fantasy, do you tend to imagine yourself in that world?
Yeah, my imaginary can go to those things. Yeah. It's like when you're a kid, it's like when you kind of dress up and you play pretend. And I mean, maybe it stems from like watching Disney films and things like this sort of magical depiction of like this world that you can't reach to or whatever. And it's just, I don't know, you can just kind of lose yourself in that sense for like a moment, you know? And I don't know. You don't like, oh my God, I'm dying.
Steph?
Harry Potter was my childhood. Like I was obsessed. Did you read the books?
I did, yeah.
No.
You didn't read the books? Oh
Nope.
my days. Oh my days.
I think this is a whole other episode to discuss. But like,
for sure.
I mean,
definitely.
Yeah, because
Steph,
Harry Potter's not even a period drama. We're
I know.
already
We're
getting into
going
it.
off track right now.
All good, all good.
Bringing it back to period drama.
Bringing it back in. Yeah, I find that so interesting, the way that you say that you can't relate to like fantasy or whatever. Because I feel like my first foray into fantasy that was like tangible was being in the Nutcracker. Like, to me, that was like the ultimate experience of fantasy come to real life. Like, yeah, sure, I could also see like all of the behind the scenes stuff, but that just made it like all the more magical. And I think that was like the true gateway into I guess we're talking about fantasy now. That was like the true gateway into fantasy for me. Like, yeah, it's wild that you don't feel or like relate in that way.
I mean, to put it really simply, when I was really young, during Halloween, I had no interest in dressing up as make-believe characters. I wanted to be real people.
I loved Halloween!
No, I loved Halloween, but I loved being like, you know, a nurse or like an actual profession.
That's wild. I was a Power Ranger. That was my favorite costume. I was the pink Power Ranger, and I was like, yeah, this is real.
Dude, I was Jasmine. I was, from, Aladdin. I was like a witch. Mate, the whole costume thing, like, I just loved it. Like, decked out my whole entire, where I used to live, we used to decorate the whole front door, and we would like not have competitions with your neighbors, but try to have like the most elaborate scary front door, and I would love it. Like it's just, I don't know, it was like maybe it's an escape from like,
for sure,
being a normal person for a day.
Yeah.
But
I can see
let's go back to
full back on the rails. Let's pull back.
Okay. Maybe in a sense, we can maybe use like, the whole dressing up like in costumes as an example of like bringing it back to period drama. Do you not appreciate the dress sense in certain period dramas? Can you appreciate that?
I can. Yeah, that I can. But maybe when I'm looking at whether or not I enjoy a movie or a series, maybe my focus lays a lot more on the narrative and how I feel towards it. So then I always feel, I like this and I appreciate its cinematography or the way it's been filmed or like different things. But then at the end of the day, the story is what I value the most. And maybe that's where period dramas get lost for me if you're talking about a ranking of what is good in my taste. And so I can appreciate a great period drama in the sense that it's set incredibly well, and design and everything else, it really fulfills it and it ticks lots of boxes, but then it will never fall into my top 5 basically, even if it had like the best cinematography or the best like design.
But just because it's not based in, I mean, technically it is based in reality, right? Like period dramas are based in reality. It's that like the story isn't real, so you can't like get into it in the same ways. I mean, part of the reason why I'm a little bit confused is when I think of period dramas, if we're talking about like Western period dramas, I think about Pride and Prejudice or like Emma, or it's like things that are, you know, current for when that media came out, right? So then it is still grounded in reality. It's just that the story is made up. But like, to me, there's a disconnect because it's like all of this is technically informing you of history. So then why is that different from something that you know to be true?
That's a good question. Because I did literature when I was in school for my GCSEs and my A-levels, and that was my favourite subject. And I enjoy reading Pride and Prejudice. I actually like reading period literature for the most part. I just think when we're talking about film and TV, that's where maybe my interest gets somewhat lost. Maybe visually I enjoy or relate to things that I can see in my day-to-day now. Maybe I've boxed myself in a little bit. In the sense of I've told myself I don't enjoy it, and so I tend to like not watch it. But I guess we all have genres that we like don't really touch for whatever reason, because we've decided or made a conclusion. Maybe that's not like well informed enough, because there's so much stuff out there now, and you can't love everything. You don't have time to watch everything, and so we are filtering things to some degree. And I guess I've just filtered period dramas out unless they're historical.
So, just curious, was there a period drama that you watched?
Yeah.
Can you name it that made you decide you didn't like period drama?
Oh, that made me decide I didn't.
You brought up Harry Potter just now, but I mean, I guess that falls under more fantasy. But can you give us like an example of a film, a series, whatever, that you watched it, you literally you watched the whole thing, and then you decided you didn't like it?
I don't think I can't even put my head. Okay, there was a few that I really did enjoy. So Little Women.
Ooh, which version?
I don't know if I've watched the old version. I've watched the new one with Florence Pugh, and I just indisputably, in my opinion, she's a great actor. And so I enjoyed that film a lot. And that is a period drama. And I guess in that film, I found it relatable because they were talking about 4 girls and their relationship and their friendship. So then maybe there was a hook that I enjoyed or I was interested in. And so that carried through. I loved The Crown. It's very controversial. Some people hate it. It is historical in some degree. It's adapted from a true story. And so it now informs the way the English people see the monarchy, and also what the monarchy has been like for me. Although I don't think I am I didn't watch it because I am obsessed with the monarchy. I watched it because I think it's interesting to see the role that the monarchy now plays in society based off of historical events, basically. I mean, what about you two? I want to know what was good, because maybe this is the chance for you to sell it to me. Sell it to me.
Okay, sell it to you.
Or just say what, like, I don't know, do you have a favorite period drama? Just like, yeah.
I really like Pride and Prejudice, the Keira Knightley version. I really enjoyed that one just because like I think I watched it like when I was in my early teens, and like having that be part of like your formative like view of romance, I think really shaped the way that I see romance. And you know, that sort of like longing and pining is something that I really enjoy, because as somebody who like really devours romance, maybe not like romance novels, but just like was really into romance as like an early teen, I think it helped to be like, oh, okay, like previously we weren't all constantly talking about sex and having sex and like being pressured to have sex. It was a lot of just like a
Yeah.
touch, you know, and that was like really inviting and comforting to think that like, you know, there's a man out there who was written by a woman who is just like so like gentle and awkward, but also like is willing to do so much. And like I also know that there's a lot of like suspending your disbelief or like ignoring a lot of problematic things about period dramas, about like the actual history and like how predominantly like Western period stuff has a lot to do with erasure of other races and like I understand why it's problematic, but I also can appreciate the like window into history that you get, but it's based in fantasy, but also informs you about the past. One of my other favorite movies is Emma. Like Emma is my my absolute comfort movie. I watch it all the time, except that they took it off Netflix, so I'm really sad. I might buy it actually. But yeah, I really like that for its cinematography, for like the set and costume design, because it is very accurate, like unlike Pride and Prejudice, Keira Knightley's version. I know it's not her version, but in my brain it is. So yeah. To me, like it's a really nice like sort of escapism a little bit, you know? You're like learning about history in a way that you can do it through the set, through the costumes. But also it's like set in this world where if you're part of upper society or whatever, in the same way, I guess, as when you're watching Bridgerton, where you suspend your disbelief about the colorblind casting and stuff. It's like a way to like put yourself in that historical moment and have this sort of like grand story while also having it not be so bound in history. Because I think one of the reasons why I like period dramas as opposed to a historical retelling of something is that I like am the total opposite of you, Lois, where like I think history is so boring. And
Fair enough.
I know that like a lot of it actually is just like gossip, and you can frame it in that way so that it is interesting to people. But I really struggled in history class to like remember the dates and to like really know all of the wars and stuff. And in the way that it was taught to me was just basically like, you memorize this date, you memorize this war, you memorize where it was, and then you just do that for the rest of the class. And it was really fun to step into like period dramas and be like, oh, actually you can learn history in this totally other way. And it's not necessarily like the most historically accurate a lot of the times, but adjacent to period dramas. One of the things that I really like is costume analysis and set analysis for these types of movies. So actually, like, I'm learning a lot about Regency era dress. I'm learning a lot about historical accuracy through the costumes. And then through costumes and through set, you also learn about the way that people in society at that time behaved and the way that they did certain things because of society at the time. And that to me is super interesting.
I actually I can see how you are confused, because a lot of what you said felt interesting to me. Maybe I just haven't looked at period drama through that lens. But yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, if we're talking about like Chinese period dramas and like TVB and the stuff that I used to watch as kids, number one, that taught me Cantonese. That was like fucking amazing. Like even the comedies that were mostly just set, it was like real life situations, but then they just kind of set it in the past a little bit. So it's like a sitcom, but it's set in the past. But then you still learn all of these things about your culture that I feel like I otherwise would not have learned, because a lot of Asian parents don't really teach you about stuff. They're just like, this is the way it is, and that's the way it is.
But nobody talks like that now in those period. Like, you're talking about Cantonese period dramas, right? Nobody talks like that anymore.
Sure, but as like an Asian American kid who like barely could speak Cantonese to begin with, it was like, okay, well, I can learn some of these words. I can kind of know what it means. And they don't talk like vocabulary, or no, grammar wise, they don't talk in the same ways, but they still use all of the vocabulary that you should have. And like speaking in that way that's like very, very like scholarly, you still read that way sometimes. So then it's also like an introduction into that. And if we're talking just about like sitcoms, yeah, that stuff is really funny and really entertaining for like a kid who's like learning Cantonese and like trying to learn about their culture. When we talk about like drama, like actual drama, like period drama, that's like, I don't know, about the concubines and like, you know, like life in the imperial city or whatever, there was a series that came out when I was maybe like in high school or something, when I could appreciate both the history of everything and then also appreciate how they revealed the people in the palace to act, and then also revealing the rankings of everybody. So then it's like you're getting that information also through media and entertainment. You're like learning about your culture and your past, and you also learn about the way that women were treated and the way that men were treated, or like eunuchs were treated. It's something that has permeated my brain, and I didn't even realize it at the time. It's just something that I'm learning because I'm watching this thing that I enjoy, just because period dramas like are fun, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a fair.
Yeah, no, you just brought a really, really good point that was in the back of my mind about TVB. And back in the day, I also watched the period dramas. I can't remember what they're called now, but I like history. Obviously, like remembering the dates and what happened when and blah, 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 like can be, you know, tedious and a bit mundane to remember. But I'm always very curious as like what happened back in the day. I don't know, because I can't get to experience that. You know, we're living in today's society and, you know, we don't get to experience those. Well, obviously we're very privileged and we're very lucky that we live in society today, but I'm always interested in like, oh, what happened back then? Like, why did these things happen? Why did they dress like that? And I always admire, like, you know, yeah, like what Steph said, like how, like, for example, if you're talking about the TVB drama, like how the women were in the palace, like how they were treated and how they had to behave in a certain way. But for me, I don't know if you guys ever watched this particular TVB drama. I really like the sense of adventure and, again, also the escapism aspect, because it's always like, well, I've never experienced this in my life. So this is a gateway for me to kind of get a little snippet of it, even though it might not be, you know, based on a true story, like a narrative, like say like a World War II film like Dunkirk, for example, which I also love because it is facts and it is just insane that has happened. But this TVB drama, did you guys watch The Monkey King?
Oh,
Soon.
yeah.
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
childhood.
Oh my gosh. I used to be obsessed, actually, like so obsessed with it. And I think growing up watching that and also being exposed to certain Disney animated things, like I always loved the whole martial arts, the badass sort of moves and everything about that just is sort of untangible for like me today. So like I think that stems from there, like why I enjoy like period dramas. To be honest, unlike Steph, I've never watched Pride and Prejudice and I've never watched Emma. I think I fall under more of the category of maybe more of a, how should I say, adventure storyline. Like I used to love like The Mask of Zorro and Indiana Jones, like just stuff that is very easy for you to kind of like lose yourself in. And I love like Pirates of the Caribbean. I mean, it's a major blockbuster. It's like entertainment, but you know, you get like little snippets of, you know, I love Moulin Rouge. Like obviously that is also not like real day-to-day like events and stuff, but I just love it. Love escaping into this world that is like, oh shit. And also World War II films that maybe are based off of true events, but they directed it in a way where it's more consumable or in like a more comedic or satire sort of way where it can be very daunting, like World War II films. Like, I don't know if you guys ever watched Inglourious Bastards.
No,
it's
I haven't
insane.
seen it.
Like
People have told me about it.
It's I quite like very crude stuff as well. I also really like gangster films, gangster films and series. You know, I guess a notable one is Peaky Blinders. I love it.
Peaky Blinders. Sylvie, don't we have someone we know that's in Peaky Blinders, actually?
I mean, I don't.
Someone who went
We
to school
do.
with
I guess
us.
it's just a mutual person that went to our school. But that doesn't matter, you know, like Sherlock Holmes, you know.
I do love
Love
Sherlock.
it.
Wait, which one? Like the
Okay.
Robert Downey Jr. one?
Yeah, I've only ever seen those. I've not seen.
I think it's probably the Robert. I feel like I don't think I've watched. I think I might have watched some BBC ones before.
Oh yes, I did love the BBC.
So, Lois, what about media that you consumed as a kid? Did you watch period dramas as a child, TVB, any of that?
I mean, I grew up in Hong Kong, so of course TVB was what we would consider like what you would have over dinner. Like we call it like 电视送飯 in Cantonese, which means that you have television whilst having dinner. It's just one of your main courses, really. And I didn't grow up watching TV whilst I was eating, but I definitely watched it when I was in the house. The only thing is that as like deep as I am before and now in Chinese and Cantonese and Mandarin like entertainment and media, like there's so much of content that I consume that's in Cantonese or Mandarin. I have never enjoyed a period drama in Cantonese or in Mandarin. Like when I was young, I would almost turn the TV off when I knew that it was a period drama. Like I would just not be interested in it whatsoever, which kind of circles back to my, not argument, but to my point in the beginning of this episode where I just have never gravitated towards it. And all the things that you two have said just now in relation to learning about the culture, I somehow just have never seen it that way. Or maybe because the difference between, like, for example, Steph and I is that I grew up in an environment where I was predominantly exposed to Chinese culture. And so, like, as Western educated as I was at an international school, so much of it around me informed me of my culture. And so maybe I didn't yearn for that level of like relation as you probably did when you were growing up in the US. But then, like Sylvie, you were like loving it, and maybe that was your favorite genre to watch as a kid. But then for me, I just loved sitcoms, like Cantonese sitcoms. And I think that's because it kind of taught me how to speak in Cantonese in today's age and in that time, and how to stay like culturally relevant a little bit when you do sitcoms, because then they talk about current issues a lot more. They write it into the script. It's just more relevant to me. But then yeah, period dramas in Cantonese or Mandarin, I just feel like people don't speak that way anymore, and so like I didn't find it that fascinating for some reason.
I don't know. I think it was just what I was exposed to as a kid. I feel like I watched TVB. It's not that I didn't watch sitcoms and like other dramas. I did, because I always watched it with my mom or my brother who were there. I think it was just what I was exposed to, and I grew up in Hong Kong. I went to local school, but I was still fascinated with, you know, the style of dress back in the day. I was just like, this is just nothing I've ever seen before, and you know, I want to know more about it in like a kind of lighthearted reality TV style way. It was like it's clever because it's consumable. Like, as I said, like the Monkey King, like there's elements of, it's just lightheartedness as well. So like it's entertainment, and that's like what drew me in. And I feel like that's like an easy way to get into it. But maybe because also when I was young, I don't know if it's probably shaped like how I like certain period dramas today. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I enjoy them. Yeah, like ever since I was like a child, I remember like watching certain, as I said, I can go back to Disney things. It's like, you know, Aladdin. It's not just Chinese culture. It's like different stuff. Yeah. It's like, you know, you can relate to, okay, Mulan, that was Chinese, and you can go to Aladdin, and that's like takes you to like the Middle East, and like and then you have whatever, Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast. Like, you know, you can go on forever. You can go to Anastasia, that takes you to like Russia. Like, I don't strictly just like, you know, learning about my own culture. It's about learning other things, which is why I said before, like, you know, Peaky Blinders, that's like dated like in the 18th century, I think it is. I'm not sure, like in Birmingham, you know, like just, I enjoy, different types of things. Like recently I watched a really, really, really good series that I really like, and it's an animated series, but it's not for kids, it's for like adults, and it's called The Blue-Eyed Samurai. And how I relate to that is because the main character is half Japanese, half white, so blue-eyed samurai. So like I relate to that in that sense, but female. So again, a female back in the day. So like it's based off of in the 17th century in Japan, where in the Edo period, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, where there was like samurais, and there used to be females warriors that fought alongside the samurais. They're called something else, but she is a samurai. And the whole series was amazing because it's actually very, very empowering, like on the female feminism front. And yeah, I don't know. It talks a lot about, it doesn't talk a lot about, it's again, giving you a gateway to introduce you to, maybe a little bit of the Japanese culture back in the day, but in a very like entertaining way. And then they talk about like back in the day about brothels and prostitutes there, but then I don't want to give it too much away in case you guys want to watch it. Mm-hmm. But like how the women that worked in these brothels, how they navigated their way through the story. And also, it also has another point of view of one of the sort of princesses, where she is being arranged marriage to like some sort of like, I don't know, earl or whatever, like another. The princess, she's like she wants to marry who she wants to marry, but then at the end, like the sort of power, like she like runs away from the palace, and then she basically discovers like things on her own 2 feet, and then she's looking for the person she wants to marry, and she stumbles across this brothel, and then she like stands on her own 2 feet. Like it's very empowering to watch, but it's also dated back in that way where you can like again appreciate a little bit of the history, and also I just like badass, fighting scenes. So I naturally gravitated to watching this. So yeah. Anyway.
Do you know what though? You speaking about this particular series that you watched that you really enjoyed, kind of actually, I suddenly remembered. So I actually do have a favorite period drama of recent that I've watched, and I maybe didn't clock that it was a period drama before our conversation until this moment, and it's actually a Taiwanese series that is currently on Netflix, but it was like out in 2021, and it's called Hua Deng Chu Shang, and it's basically about the 1980s in Taiwan, and stories of the nightclub scene and female escorts, but it's surrounding a murder. And so that became super interesting for me because it was like a cross-genre type of drama, because it was an overlap between period and then also crime. And so crime is something I've always loved watching. So maybe the secret formula to making me find period interesting is if it overlaps with another genre that I love, because I absolutely loved this series. I actually would recommend the two of you to watch it, even if you feel like you need to do it through subtitles, but it's probably one of the best series I've watched in recent years, like in Mandarin or Cantonese. It's so good, and like you will love the set design and the portrayal of that time, actually, although it's not that far away because it was like set in 1988. But yeah, I did actually love that. So maybe I don't hate period as much as I thought I did. I guess today was actually a bit of a deep dive into period dramas, but more specifically maybe how I should maybe have a look and reassess my desire to watch period dramas in the future. So potentially we could be doing another episode about a period drama that we've all watched that we actually really did enjoy.
I feel like we should do an episode about fantasy. I think that would be really interesting.
I think maybe we should just go through all the genres, like fantasy, sci-fi, what did Lois say before? The criminal
crime, like true crime and
crime. Sorry,
suspense.
True crime.
I mean, I need much more education about this because I think I'm getting the genres mixed up. Like I thought Harry Potter was a period drama, so I guess that didn't work out. But yeah, so thank you so much to all of you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed this, please check us out on Spotify, and you can follow us for our next chat. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.